Hello, people.
Hi,
Lovely to see
everyone.
you again. This is Debbie from Wild and Woolly for Bits and Bobs, and we have a special guest today.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sam. I'm from Caris Healthcare, and I'm the volunteer coordinator.
Yes, and if you're wondering what is Caris Healthcare, this chap
Caris,
right here is going to tell
not many people call me chap, so I like that. It's a nice change of pace. Caris Healthcare is what we call a hospice agency, and what a hospice agency does is we work with people after they've tried some treatments for their disease and they've been told the treatments aren't working. And so they choose hospice at the end of their life so that they can live that time in comfort and with the agency and the dignity to choose how they want to live that remaining period of their life with their family, in their own homes, wherever they happen to be.
us. I have to say, if you're not familiar with the hospice service, it's worth logging on to Caris Healthcare. We'll put a link in here so that you can read a little bit about hospice and what it offers you or your loved ones. It offers you, in my opinion, a graceful end of life
Yeah. It gives you the freedom to
phase.
choose,
Hmm.
really, to choose to accept that, okay, I'm not going to cure this, and to make peace with that idea, but also to have your family very involved in the decision making, to allow your decision to be yours and those you love rather than just doctors and nurses, whose goal might be to treat the disease at whatever price.
Hmm.
Often the patients that we work with have been through chemo and been through radiation. And for those of you that have been through that, you know how difficult those can be. And they've chosen ultimately, you know what, I'd like to live out the rest of my life in peace and in comfort. And I really respect that decision.
I do too. I am absolutely all for that. And I think hospice does it beautifully. And also, it lets you go out gracefully, but it lets you go out pain free and comfortably
Hmm.
also.
Absolutely.
You don't have to fight it. You end your life not the way that you want to per se, because you might not be choosing to, but it, it just helps you exit.
Yeah. It's the focus is on comfort.
Yeah.
The focus is on what are your goals in this season of your life, being
Mm-hmm.
realistic about, okay, you're not going to live forever. It's not, there is an expected end to it. But what do you want it to look like? What do you want to eat during this time? Where do you want to be during this time? It's not strict diets and strict rehab programs and all of this. It's, hey, like, we're going to be realistic about this and we're going to give you the best last year, last 6 months, last month as possible. And though it's a little bit heavy to talk about, when you're actually with these people, you see how much of a difference it makes versus spending the end of your life in a hospital, in and out of a hospital situation.
Mm-hmm.
And you know that as a former RN.
Mm, absolutely, absolutely. Now, Sam, as a private organisation, if somebody wants to utilise the in-home hospice
Yeah.
services of Caris, can they use their insurance?
Yeah, you absolutely can use your insurance.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that the vast majority of our patients go through Medicare. Medicare pays for the entirety of hospice. Um, Medicare Part A, I believe. Don't quote me on that because I'm the volunteer guy, so I'm not quizzed on that one. But are we okay? I think
Yeah,
we're good.
keep on going, keep on
Excellent.
going. We
But
always have behind the scenes
no, that's
stuff going
good.
on.
There's a lot of movement. Someone's doing a little jig in the background. There are fire dancers. Not not quite. They told me sitting down, don't look at the socks behind you. I don't know what that's about. No, but so insurance will pay for hospice in almost all cases as long as you have the right diagnosis. But the vast majority of people choose to go through Medicare
Mm-hmm.
because Medicare is a lot easier and it means you don't have to deal with Cigna or Blue Cross Blue Shield, whoever. The vast majority of people just go through that. They're a lot easier.
So, you might be wondering what we're doing here today. And this is where you folks come in because we know you are prolific makers, and this is where you come in. Whenever we put something forward to you guys, you always respond and go above and beyond with everything. So, today, what we're doing is Sam's here to request some donations of handmade items.
Yeah. I before I talked to Debbie, I talked to an individual quilter, and I called her and I'm like, hey, we you've donated to us in the past. Is there any chance that you have anything knitted or sewn or quilted or anything to donate to our patients? And she said, oh yeah, my garage is so full I can't walk through it. And then when I called Debbie, she said the word prolific about 18 different times. And so what what I've learned is that you folks tend to create a lot of what you create. And oftentimes, there might be too much stuff for you personally to use, and your relatives might be tired of it, and your friends might have blocked your number because you've given them so many pairs of socks. And if that's the case, I would just like to tell you that our patients love knitted items. You would genuinely not believe how much a hospice patient, someone with dementia or cancer, is touched by receiving something that's handmade. I've been hinting at a sock story since I walked into the store. So just this past week, and this is really did happen this week. I'm not just saying this for the purpose of this. There was a man who he loved beer. I mean, who doesn't? Right?
Who doesn't?
Honestly, if you're over 21, I don't know who's watching this, but
you think this is tea in
yeah,
here.
yeah, honestly, don't ask questions. It's Facebook Live. There was a man who loved beer, and he had this ever since he had grown up in Vermont or one of those states, and every year his family had bought him a pair of wool socks with beer on the side, a little beer, I don't know, stein, with the head of foam off it.
Mm-hmm.
And when he had moved down to Charleston to begin hospice care, he hadn't been able to find those socks. Mm-hmm. And to most people, that might seem like a small thing. Anything we can do for you to make you just a little bit happy? And he said, I had these beer socks. And we were like, okay, that's a weird thing to say, but that's fine. So we spent hours searching online. We couldn't find anything. We couldn't find the company. It seems they went out of business. No one had these socks. And so we asked one of our generous volunteers, can you create a pair of socks with a beer stein on them for this patient? And she was a little wishy-washy because I've been told that socks are difficult to make. They're not for beginners, as Debbie's told me. But eventually she said, yeah, I'll give it a shot. And she created a pair of socks. They were pretty standard as far as socks go. I don't know. I mean, they didn't look fancy. And she was actually embarrassed about them. She was, I don't know if these are good enough. I don't know if they're not up to my standard, right? Mm-hmm. This little pair of gray socks with, a beer stein on the side. And we said, no, it's totally fine. We'll give it to him. Cut to the day that we give it to him, we get a call. The whole staff gets a call from this man who'd insisted on calling us, the whole staff, to tell us how thankful he was, and he's in tears. He says, I haven't had these socks since I was 25, and this reminds me of my family. He went on to talk about his parents and his upbringing in Vermont. And it's that kind of moment that turns a pair of socks that someone was embarrassed because they didn't think they were good enough into a moment, into a gift that really had an impact on someone in an incredibly important part of their story. And we've seen this not just with custom knitted for the moment things. We've seen this with donations of quilts that are given long beforehand, given to a patient with dementia who can't raise their head but can tap on your hand to say thank you. To these people, a handmade gift can mean the world. And it's really an honorable way to lighten your load, lighten your house full of different knitted items by giving them to someone to whom they mean so much.
But now, that is great if people are overrun with things, but an important thing also, Sam, that you need to know about makers, quilters, knitters, crocheters, sewists, is that a lot of that's in their heart anyway, that they want to make something to gift to somebody. A lot of that, isn't it, people? Don't you agree? That is in your heart and your soul, that you want to give it to other people. So this is the perfect audience for your needs.
Yeah, we love to accept donations, but I think something that we love even more is partnering with people in the community, in the area, who are big-hearted, who are willing to come alongside of our patients and say, hey, I want to spend my energy, I want to spend my time, I want to spend my emotion to create something for this person. And for those of you who have volunteered in the past, for those of you who have donated, you know how creating something and spending that time and energy is as much of a gift to yourself, is as therapeutic to yourself as it is for the person receiving it. I like to think of myself as probably the least qualified person to ever be on this Facebook Live in terms of knowing about quilting or sewing or anything else. I mean, I'll take that award with distinction. But I've done music my entire life, and I've used that many times in volunteering situations. And the hours that you spend rehearsing, the hours that you spend creating and practicing, and then giving that to someone, you're not thinking about, oh, I've spent so much time on this. You're thinking, it's amazing that I get to do this for someone else. And so for those of you with that spirit, we would absolutely love it if you would join us and say, yes, I'm willing to once a year create something for a patient. And it's not, we're not going to tell you, hey, we have a patient, we need a pair of gloves tomorrow at 3 p.m. That's not how we do things, right?
These people can do that.
Well, that's a little scary. But I'm just going to move past that. We're going to say, hey, are you available? What are you thinking? What are you working on right now? Would you be willing to donate this to a patient with a special need? And you would be amazed, or maybe not be amazed, how much this touches someone's heart. And I think the reason is because anything creative like this, it comes out of your own heart.
It does.
It's not just something that you're doing. We all have stories that lead us to create what we create. And to share those stories with someone who's at a vulnerable moment in their story is really meaningful.
It is. It is. We have Bess on the other side of the computer, on the other side of the table. Bess, does anybody have questions for Sam?
No, Kim did text or type in that she had hospice for her parents when they were at the end of life, and they were amazing, wonderful people.
She did, and she had hospice in home, didn't she?
Yes.
Which is what Karis does.
Yeah, we work with people in their own homes or in a facility. But I think that being in your own home is probably the greatest advantage of hospice care. You're able to stay in the space that you're familiar with and you're comfortable with. The vast majority of people wish to end their story in their own home. And so we make that possible. And really, a lot of our donations actually end up going to people who aren't in their own homes, because they might not have the comforts of a blanket that they've had since they were a child, right? They are in a facility, and I've been to these facilities, and they do great work, and they're very important, but they're not personal, right? They're not full of the things that you've known since you were a boy or a girl.
Right.
And
it's not your home turf.
It's not your space, and as much as they do their best to make it not feel like a treatment facility, that's what it can feel like. A lot of the work that we do is we go into these places and we look around, we look at the blankets on their beds, we look at the clothes that they have with them, we look at the walls and if they have art, and we say, how can we make this feel a little bit less like a cell, right? And so we absolutely love to accept donations like that and to partner with people like you guys who create to make these places feel a little bit more like home.
And I will tell you, Sam, that just from posting some information about today and you appearing today, we've already had some responses of people that want to go ahead and start making something. And to set you all off, people, this is going to be the first donation. This is a quilt. This fabric, Sam, is called Day in Paris, which I think is the perfect fabric for somebody in hospice, because they can just dream about Parisian streets. So Day in Paris. So this is our first donation, people. We want to set you going, and we want you to follow in our footsteps and create and make and donate all sorts of handmade items.
And if I can say, don't only create. I mean, we absolutely love this, and I can't wait to bring. I already know who I'm going to bring this to. By the way, and he's a nonverbal dementia patient. Good. He will not be able to say thank you, but he will smile wide and he will tap my hand.
Good.
But don't just create and drop it off. I'd love it if you would share the stories. People, even people with a late stage condition where they can't speak, they can hear. And they love being told stories. It means a lot for someone not to just receive a quilt, but to know, hey, this person created it, and this is the fabric that they used, and this is where they were in their lives when they created it. This is what they were thinking. Having that sharing. And for those of you that maybe have had experience, I know someone in the chat mentioned how much hospice had helped. I think their mom.
And dad.
And dad. Wow.
Both parents,
Yeah, absolutely. There are other opportunities to volunteer as well. We do send volunteers in to these facilities, into homes, to spend time with patients. it is more work, and that it's very emotional sometimes, but it's very important work. Spending time with someone who might not have anyone else around, spending time with someone so that their family, their caregivers, can take a moment off and breathe. Because for those of you that have maybe taken care of a family member, it's a lot of work, right? I see some nodding behind the camera.
It is a lot of work.
And also for the patients, just having another face around, someone who's not their family so they don't have to be there, someone who's not staff so they're not getting paid to be there, someone who just out of the goodness of their hearts wants to say, hey, I'm going to come spend time with you. We send out volunteers like that all the time to our patients. And so I really encourage you, if maybe you want to donate, but you want to do more, you're like, what more can I do? Get in touch with Debbie here, and she'll put you in touch with me, and we'll get you out visiting, or we'll get you in the office talking to patients and their families. There are so many different opportunities and ways for you to get involved. And if you want to make a difference in someone's story, I mean, there are very few moments that are more impactful than the moments in hospice care.
True that. Is there anything else we need to know about you or hospice or Charleston or
about Charleston?
music?
I hardly feel like an expert in Charleston. I'm from the north, full disclosure, so hopefully that doesn't ruin it for anyone. We're nice up there too sometimes. But I will say about me, I have a little bit of probably a unique story coming into hospice care. I used to be a minister in churches, and the reason that I moved from ministry to hospice care is because I saw that hospice care was an amazing opportunity to care for people at a moment in their stories where, as I've said, it kind of all comes together and you're just keenly aware of who you are as a person. And so I would say if you're looking to serve people, if you're looking to volunteer in any way, you can come from wherever you're coming from, like whatever your motivation is, into this space. There are many, many, many people in hospice, not just with Caris. I mean, do Caris because I'm Caris, but please, people in hospice care love visitors, and they love people who will come and spend time with them, who will come and leave a quilt, who will come talk to them, and listen to music with them, help them write their story. So if you have some free time, I know we're all busy, I know everything is tight right now with COVID, look into that, because I'm really happy that I did. The volunteers that I've worked with are all so happy that they did. And I really promise you will not be disappointed, and you're going to make a massive difference in someone's life by doing it.
Well, Katie Marie said that she would love to make a quilt.
Amazing.
Kim McPhee asked, should quilts be... Just a second.
Hey, Kate, we are ready for you to make a quilt,
Yeah,
lady.
absolutely.
Have at it.
Yeah, and I would say bring the quilts. Can they bring the quilts here?
Oh, yes, we certainly, we will be your drop-off point if
That's
you need
amazing.
a drop-off point, yes.
And this is a beautiful store, so I'm happy
Oh,
to come back
thank
and
you.
have another cup of
There you
tea.
go.
Kim wants to know also, should quilts be knitted blankets, and do they need to be a certain size?
Knitted blankets as opposed to
Quilts.
either is fine. It really is, and I'll try to give some more diverse examples of what we've given to our patients. So I mentioned socks. We give wrist warmers. Maybe there's a name for that, but
Wrist warmer is the name.
Wrist warmer. Great.
Yeah.
Look at me. I'm already learning. We give wrist warmers. We give blankets. We give quilts. We give beanies, hats for people who aren't able to regulate their heat like that.
Well, here's Susan Brandt, who says, cannot wait to start. I know a bunch of ladies who will be joining me in doing so.
That
Yay,
is amazing.
Susan.
Thank you so much.
much.
Yeah, I mean, each one of these gifts, whether it's a hat, whether it's gloves, whether it's a wrist warmer or a quilt, they continue to have a life beyond, you just creating them and putting them on your couch with the 4 other quilts.
We don't know what you mean.
I don't mean to call anyone out on that, but my family doesn't even quilt, and we have like 6 blankets on our couch. So it really is. It's really a wonderful way to honor someone else and to honor the work that you put into these products. We give prayer shawls if people are religious and that's something that they want. So I would challenge you to come up with something that you've created out of any material that we could not use. I don't know. Some of you might take on that challenge, but we've never had to turn away a donation like this because we can always find a use for it that makes someone's day.
There is one more thing actually that I forgot about and I forgot to discuss with you today earlier.
Good.
Quilts of Valor people, if any of you are logged on from Quilts of Valor, from All Saints Quilters in particular. Then I had a conversation with Sam the other day and he does have quite a few veterans.
Yeah, we do.
And so if we could have a hookup between Quilts of Valor and the Caris Hospice Network, that would be an awesome thing.
Yeah.
Meryl, if you're listening, I'm talking to you. Get in touch with us and let's see what we can do for the veterans who are in hospice.
Yeah, and we try to do specifically veteran themed ideas for our veteran patients when possible. It's not always possible because it is difficult, and there are certain things that we need to do. There's nothing particularly veteran-y about this, right? But if you are Quilts of Valor, or you just are passionate about making patriotic items or anything like that, reach out. We always have a need, and as we continue to have veteran patients come in, we try to always offer them something to say thank you for their service. So please do reach out. And Quilts of Valor people, I've reached out to you, reach out to me.
Okay, good. You already tried. Okay.
Yeah.
So yes, follow through for Quilts of Valor if you don't mind. Yes.
Yeah.
Anything else, Sam?
Kate Marie says Goodwill is an amazing place for men's button-downs to make fantastic quilts. Go to Goodwill and pick up
Men's button down what, Kate?
Shirt.
Oh, shirts. Okay.
But men's button-down shirts.
Men's button down shirts. That's a good suggestion, Kate. I just didn't know what you were talking about. But yes, men's shirts, awesome.
Yeah, any
perfect.
material is great.
It is, yeah.
As long as there's a story, ideally. If you can tell us a story, it's times two, because then we get to share it with them and see their faces light up as we share it.
Yeah.
I don't think I have anything else. I just want to say thank you guys so much, and thank you for being willing to use a passion of yours to help others.
Absolutely.
That's really a gift, not just to our patients, but to yourself. So I'm grateful, and Debbie, thanks for having me on.
You are very welcome.
As someone who's never touched anything when it comes to quilting, thanks for letting me into this place, and no alarms went off or anything when I came on. So
no, they didn't, which is unusual. No, we're happy to have you here.
Thanks
we're
so
glad
much.
you reached out to us. We really are.
Yeah.
Anything else before we log off, Bess?
No.
Are you doing something else over there, Bess, other than?
Kim was texting me that it was
Great.
cutting in and out. The internet was, so
Okay.
I responding to Kim's text. that-
Okay, if we were cutting in and out on you folks, we're sorry. Ours was pretty smooth on this end, so
This was going in and
it
out.
was going in and out.
Yeah.
Okay.
We apologise if we went in and out. If you missed anything really, really important, reach out to us
Yeah.
and we'll go back over it for you.
Yeah, and if you'd like to talk to me about volunteering in another way, whether visiting patients or anything else, talk to Debbie and she'll connect you with me, and we'll get that going because we would love to give you guys that opportunity.
Super.
Yeah.
So, yes, no prizes today, people. We figured we'd reverse it on you, and you can be giving us prizes instead today. How about that? We'll look forward to seeing everything that you guys come up with. And thank you very much. We appreciate you, and we are really happy that you joined us today. Take good care. And bye, Sam.
Bye, guys. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.